Hey there guys! Today in this video we're going over more overrated cards and some other options for those overrated cards. This one is Phyrexian Arena. Alright, so today we're doing the thing again. We're going through some overrated cards and talking about some potential replacements for those overrated cards and also somewhat overpriced cards, I guess, because it's a $15 to $20 card. I think the price has gone down a little bit here and there, but anyways, I'm not a price checker. I'm not going to go through the prices of all these cards all the time and whatnot, but it's still a fair price card that I don't think needs to be, because I do think it is a very overrated card, because I've seen a lot of people say, how they don't like this card and they would prefer something just like Knight's Whisper, even like whatever, just like draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Bam! I've got my cards out of the spell that I've cast right here, right now. But I'm not going to talk about cards that are like that, because I want to talk about cards that are effects that will stay out on the battlefield and will net you additional value. They might be like, some of them you can never really replace Phyrexian Arena, and I think that's another reason why some of these cards see so much play, is they're somewhat irreplaceable to exactly what they do to a degree. You can find cards that are better in certain circumstances, not as stapley, but I do think you can find some cards that are much better than cards like this. It does depend also on your strategy and your opponent's strategy, or what power level you're playing at. But there are so many effects that are in black that are permanent, or whatever, that draw you extra cards. There's a new one from Midnight Hunt that recently came out, that's a uncommon, and that thing draws you a bunch of cards, when people's creatures die. Morbid Opportunist, that's a really good card, it is sort of a Phyrexian Arena style of an effect. Like, if you have a creature die during your turn, you'll draw a card. So that's, on the same level. But if somebody else has a creature die on their turn, you can also draw a card then. So if you can make your opponent sacrifice a creature every single turn, it's really, really good. So, those sorts of cards can add up. It's only 1 card every turn, but still, or if you can get them to sacrifice 1 card every turn. So that's still really good. It's 4 cards, every round. So that's really good. There's obviously things like Midnight Reaper and things like that go really well. There's certain synergy ones that are like Undead Augur, like it's specifically for zombies or whatever, but there's more generic ones that are like Midnight Reaper and that basically do the same thing for the most part when you sacrifice things. And yes, again, you do have to sacrifice things, or something has to die or whatever under your control. But again, for black, that's very minute for the most part. There's always a cost with black. There's always something with black. Even one of the newer cards from Crimson Bow that just came out, Fellstinger, and people talk about these Sign in Blood effects or whatever, 2 mana, 3 mana, whatever, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. This is a 3 mana, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life on a stick. That's the thing. Like, again, even though I would say you might think that black doesn't care about creatures, but it so 100% does. You reanimate so much with black, and that's the way it really cares about creatures. It doesn't care about you playing creatures, perhaps, like green does, like casting them and things like that. It cares about you sacrificing them for benefits, like all of these minute little effects, there are some other effects that are like this out there, like species specialist. Now that is only for a creature type, and again, you have all these downsides of saying, well, you have to sacrifice creatures. There's Erebos, Bleak-Hearted. There's the Liliana from War of the Spark, Grim Horror Specs. A lot of these like effects and whatnot can give you cards. Actually, Dread Presence is a really cool card. It is a Phyrexian arena style of an effect for the most part, but it is 4 mana. But still, if you can find ways to play extra lands, it is better than Phyrexian Arena. But it also can do damage to your opponents and make you gain life, which is really good as well. So there's also that little bit of an upside. Plus, again, it's a creature, you can do some other stuff to it and sacrifice it or do whatever, things like this. There's also Yawgmoth, sacrificing stuff to give your opponents neg1 counters and drawing cards, things like that. There's so many little things that are in black. Indulgent Tormentor, it punishes your opponent. It doesn't punish them a lot for like letting you draw cards. There's Baleful Force. Like, again, Baleful Force is a lot of mana, but again, there's lots of other effects that are out there that are budget and are cheap and, do way more. Like, yeah, sure, Baleful Force might not be that good, but it does draw a card every single round as well. Like, again, like my opponent's turn, okay, cool, their upkeep, I draw a card and lose a life. Next opponent's upkeep, oh wow, I'll draw another card and lose a lot of life. So by the time I get back to my turn, again, I'm going to lose another life and draw another card, but I'm up, 4 or 5 cards suddenly, and I've got this big 7/7 thing, on the field, and if anyone goes to, exile it or something, I just sacrifice it to something and then draw even more cards. So it's like, I don't really care. Like, it's one of those things, like, there's that new Asmodeus that you can basically pay 3 mana to draw 7 cards, but they get exiled or whatever, but you can pay 1 mana to put them to your hand. If you can find ways around getting, that ability, that downside that he has, you just pay 3 mana to draw 7 cards. That is insane. Like, there's so many little abilities that are out there. And yes, most of them come with a downside or another effect or whatnot. For the most part, there's no just, like, plain do nothing, like, thing that says, draw a card. But it's much better for you to have something that says whenever you do X, Y, Z, draw a card, because you're going to be able to trigger that multiple times, or if it triggers multiple times just by happenstance of the game state, being commander or being a game, like, okay, I have, like, in standard, Baleful Force and things like that might not be that good, but still they're, in theory, better, because, again, I get the effect when my opponent's doing something, like, for the most part, so I, like, there's always those little things that, if my opponent wants to, do something, like, they might be like, I'm going to play my Vulturous Haven, but I have, something out that makes me draw cards as well, and you can run Vulturous Haven as well. That's another card. You exploit a creature, you draw 2 cards, you lose 2 life, it's a 4 mana bird, but, there's things like that. Blood Gift Demon, things like that. There's lots of little things, that is actually Phyrexian Arena on a stick, but even then, again, it's not that good. But again, there are other things that do other things for you, and that's why I think Phyrexian Arena, again, isn't that good, because, again, it's just an enchantment that sits there. Now, yes, if you're playing some sort of black enchantment deck, maybe it goes in your deck, but even then, you probably want some other enchantments that, do way more. There's, some of the enchantments that are from, Theros or whatnot, and some other enchantments that are here and there and in random places from all sorts of sets that when they enter the battlefield, you draw X cards, but if it's on your battlefield during your upkeep or whatever, or during your end step or whatever, you lose whatever life, or whenever you cast a spell, you like lose a life or whatever, things like that. There's always these downsides, but in those decks, if you can sacrifice those enchantments and then replay them from the graveyard, there's not that many replays from the graveyard enchantment style decks, but there are a couple. But again, if you can do some stuff like that and keep getting the value off of it without getting the downside, then again, you've built a deck that's drawing multiple cards per turn with one sort of synergy. And that's the thing, there's no synergy to Phyrexian Arena, and there's no way to draw more than one card per turn. That's the thing. Like, the floor on it is very low, and the ceiling can be very high, but again, when you slam it on turn 3, that's like, quote unquote, in theory, the best it can be, but or turn 2 or turn 3 or whatever, that's probably the best it can be. But even then, like, I would just like a card that's more effective, that I can go, okay, cool, I'm going to trigger this 7 or 8 times this turn, and then draw all the cards I need now, not in 7 or 8 more turns when the game might be over. I'm going to draw all those cards now, right here, and I'm going to find what I need, or find the next thing that I can use to hopefully dig even further and get further down into my deck to find the things that I need to win. So that's why I just think Phyrexian Arena is fairly overrated, and there are better cards that are out there. And even the cards that I think, are basically Phyrexian Arena, like, at least they're something else, at least they're a body, at least they've got some other things that you can do with it. You might be playing Demon Tribal, you might be doing these other things with it, you might be sacrificing them, you might be, punching your opponents in the face for 5 damage in the air every turn, or every turn that you get with it, like things like that, or whatever. You might be reanimating them, you might be doing, all kinds of other things with them. So, yeah, there's all these other things that you can be doing with a lot of these other cards that are essentially a Phyrexian Arena on a stick. But some of the other ones are even better because, again, they do even more, and they're much easier to utilize and do different things with. So I do think that people, you need to start looking at some of these other options that are out there, because Phyrexian Arena, sorry to say, again, it's just not that good. And there are other better options out there that are even cheaper than it. So I just don't understand. Like, I think it's one of those mindset things that's it's been played for so long. Again, like I said with Cultivate and that, and Kadama's Reach, they've been played for so long. They're in the top, popularity levels of like a lot of decks. But the thing is, we've got to get away from like, this is a staple card or whatever. There is decks, again, that it can go in, but again, it's probably like your 10th or 11th, maybe 12th option that you could put in there, and you probably just need a maximum of 10, maybe, of these sorts of draw cards effects, and you need those effects to happen whenever you're doing something, rather than just once when you take your upkeep, like you want to do it multiple times per turn, as I said. So you want to get these effects, or you want to get these effects that when they enter or whatever, or when you sacrifice it or whatever, or things like this, and then be able to, reanimate it multiple times and things like this, so that then you can get, incremental value every single turn, so that's a lot better again. So, there's all these things that you can do out there, and I just think we need to change our way of thinking about some of these cards. But anyway, guys, as I said, I tried to keep these things short, and I tried to keep this short, so I hope you've enjoyed this one. So pretty much all I've got to say. And you can let me know what you have to say. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. I'll be sure to try to respond to all comments, because I really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about all the geeky things that we all love and enjoy. And yeah, I'll see you down there in the comments below, or I'll see you in the next one. Hey, you've just finished watching one of our videos. A bunch of other videos are popping up on your screen now for you to check out, so why not check them out?